Thank you for that introduction. My God, it's making me feel old. Je vais commencer avec dire merci à notre équipe ici de Madagascar, Votre Excellence le directeur du cabinet à Madagascar. Nous sommes très heureux de partager quelques jours avec vous. Nous sommes très heureux de travailler dans votre beau pays et merci pour prendre ce grand voyage, de partager le temps avec nous. Merci à vous. I am an Africa Down Under virgin. I hope you will be gentle with me on that basis. My colleague here, Alan Mulligan, is in his 21st, I think, Africa Down Under. He's our Executive Technical Director, and please direct any complex questions to him after my presentation. Madagascar is a wonderful country, and we are situated here up in the very north of it. I've been involved in this project since 2010, and I can assure you, talking about rare earths in 2010 was a harder sell than it is now. We're now at the apex of chronic demand issues, a huge trade war in this very sector between China and the USA, and we have probably what can definitely, I'm not sure about that, but I think what can definitely be described and what SGS has described as a world-class, proven, heavy rare earth resource that can really have a part to play in this supply issue and in this great need for mineral security on top of energy security. And you'll see every government in the Western world using that terminology now, energy security, mineral security. And this is the stuff they're talking about. And we have it, and with the assistance of the government and the team here, we're going to bring it into production with some partners. So we're super excited. And I'm very excited after 15 years of being involved in this project to be at this point. You know, often in our business, you don't get to see the end, or they don't get to where you hope they will be. And this is not the case with this. So I'm very excited about that. And we're lucky to be in Madagascar. We're involved with them in a very intimate way as we bring this forward because of the strategic nature of the project and the type of partners, which I'll come on to, that we're looking to attract to it, and they're helping us with that, which is fantastic. This is not an exploration project. Pause. Take that in for a second. We have a massive resource here, 600,000 tons of total rare earth oxides, which will compare with anybody's, and I'll come on to that in a second. It's a mining project, but not a mining project, because what we are is, we have a free dig, heap leach, rapid remediation project. Now this is really, really important and easy to understand. It's why I'm involved in this project, because it is easy to understand. You don't have to have the experience of some of my colleagues here, or even some of my colleagues in the company, to understand how this system works. Now the Chinese have a massive stranglehold, let's say, on the rare earth business at the moment. Now, with no disrespect to our Chinese cousins, it's not a question of it's not a question of particular innovation or a deeper understanding or any technological advantage. The advantage is simply that they have ionized clays. So ionized clays are much easier to separate, they're much easier to extract your rare earths from. As lots of people in this room will know, rare earths aren't that rare. What's rare is separating them, creating something that you can actually use in a costly manner. So you'll see a lot of rush around the rare earth space at the moment, where we're having a bit of a gold rush, a rare earth rush. There's going to be a lot of losers in that scenario, because these projects will not be able to be extracted efficiently in any timely manner or in a way that's in any way commercially viable. That isn't the case when you're doing this. So we're not blowing stuff up. That's very important. We're taking it off the top, we're treating it, and I'm going to come on to a very simple slide, which was created by my colleagues for my benefit, to show you how that's done, and Alan will obviously be happy to talk to anybody about that in more detail. There's are some of the comments from SGS. I'm going to come on to another one in a minute. I've been around this business for a long time, in resources, in oil and gas, and in other minerals. I've never seen them say the things they've said in the reports that we have here. You know, I've tried to get them to say things like that in other projects, but they never did it. So they were wrong sometimes. But in this case, they're definitely right. Here's a quick summary of who we are. So we're listed on the main board of the London Stock Exchange. We are not a name company. We are not an OFX company. We are listed on the main board of the London Stock Exchange. Our market cap is about £10 million today, or thereabouts. We've only been listed since March on the basis of an RTO, so we're fresh to the market. We did a subsequent fundraise with primarily US investor clients of mine just about a month ago. We closed that, so we put in about another $1.5 million. This keeps us very well organized financially to get through the next stage, which for us will be working with the team here from Madagascar to make the submission for our mining license. We have what they call a transformative license at the moment. So exploration, transformation, mining license. So we're just in the process now of doing that. We have a feasibility study in draft, which Alan's been working on for some time, pre-feasibility study. And that forms part of the submission that we'll be doing with the department here. What's brilliant is that while we make that submission, during that period while we're waiting and working with them for that completion, we can continue to do work. And we have a lab and a pilot plant that we'd like to get moving, and with their assistance, we'll get on and do that. We won't be just waiting for the license to complete. We'll work with them on that process and look forward to bringing that to completion quickly. You'll see here, this is another quote where it says, "This sets it apart from most of the developers vying to be a stable source of these metals, particularly heavy rare earths for the Western world." So again, a great validation of the project. This is just a bit about our valuation. You'll see there, I'm going to hope this is on the bottom left corner, that little thing there that says our market capitalization versus our contained rare earth oxides is obviously minuscule. And what we're about at the moment is just creating the awareness of our project, on the world stage, and just getting us into the right conversations and just helping to build an understand of what we've got here and where we're going with it, which I'm going to come on to in a second. You'll see some of the competing products and the valuations that they're getting, which if you put us on those tables will be very different. So we think there's a really good and a very exciting investment opportunity here as we move to these next phases along our journey to production. I'm going to talk a bit about this slide, and again, I think this is right on the left-hand side for you, is the graph of MP Materials. This is a really important part of the story for us. The United States of America's policy on critical earths and critical rare earths, critical minerals, you can't but notice it unless you're not reading the news and you're not in the mining business. And that has been really, really clear. And where it's manifested itself in the most direct way is that the Department of Defense has made a $650 million investment directly into MP Materials. It's put a floor on the pricing that is going to allow them to deliver at, and it's become its single biggest shareholder. Now, I think other countries should be doing that, but that's we don't have time to get into that. But I think it's a very smart move, right? Now, what we're trying to be is part of that conversation to be a strategic feedstock supplier for operations like that. I was in Washington, D.C. 2.5 weeks ago. I've been called back next week. It coincidentally coincides with a visit and a delegation of the Madagascar who will be there at the same time to continue to build that connectivity for us in the USA. Our job is to provide through our process a concentrate which can be shipped, for example, to MP Materials for refining. One of the things that's happening in the space at the moment is, and this is again a great example of MP Materials, they're building extra refining capacity. Now that's great, but what are you putting into it? What are they putting into it? Okay? They don't have enough of that to be putting into it. So these sort of resources can become very critical in those scenarios. And so we're entering into that discussion now and building our connectivity in Washington, again, with great assistance from the government in Madagascar, for which we're incredibly grateful. So I'm looking forward to going back there next week. You'll also see that Bank Exim out of the US is lending $100 million to a rare earth hard rock project, think about what I said earlier, in Greenland. And so, the space is incredibly hot at the moment for investment, particularly at the government level. And we will, in some shape or form, be part of that. I'm certain. Now, here we go. So here's a little bit of a summary of what we've got. We have a JORC resource, which I've referred to already. We've done some baseline metallurgical test work completed. When I was involved in this project in 2010, the Chinese came to visit the project. I spent some time in Beijing with them. They took clay samples, they ran assay tests, and they gave us them back. Now, you can't argue the fact that they know a lot about ionized clays. We've been through that already in my presentation. And that further confirmed at that point that we had what we thought we had had. And that's obviously been subsequently backed up by further work by SGS, which has delivered this resource. I've already alluded to what we're doing with the mining license with our colleagues here and our partners here from Madagascar. So that's under control. Environmental, the other thing about the Chinese opportunity or the Chinese dominance is obviously a very different set of environmental parameters there. We have a different set of parameters in Madagascar, which of course we're going to be adhering to. Now, what's brilliant about projects like this is the rapid remediation effect. Because we're not blowing stuff up, and because we're not crushing rocks, and because we are treating ionized clays, we can remediate as we go. So when we're doing a square, we complete the square, you're starting to remediate that already. We're using ammonia sulfates as part of the process. That is a type of fertilizer, if there's anybody agricultural in the room. And so that, in fact, allows it to be a lot more efficient environmentally. So we're really excited to have an opportunity in mining to deliver a critical element in a very environmentally friendly way in a really solid country. And I don't think everybody could say those 6 things in a row for a lot of other projects that we're aware of. In rare earths, I'm being more specific. In terms of logistics, this has actually already been covered by my previous speaker in an actually better slide, so we'll take note of that. But this idea, the message here is the same. We are on the coast where we are. When you're doing rare earths, again, the amount that you're moving isn't quite the same as iron ore, obviously. So we can get that down to a port quite efficiently and ship it to wherever we choose to ship it, up through the Suez Canal to America or wherever that is appropriate. But our job will be to deliver it to port and have arrangements with whoever our partner will be at that time to take it from there for refining. Again, I personally love this slide because it's so simple and so easy to understand. But I think what's important is it does reflect the simplicity of what we are doing. I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not trying to diminish the complexity of what will be involved, but that's almost specifically around lab and pilot plant work. And we've had some really good discussions on that topic today with some service providers. So that's really important. That's the real technical thing, because the thing about rare earths, unlike gold, if you're mining gold, first of all, you have a spot price. Lucky you. We don't have a spot price because everybody's combination of elements is different. So our basket could be different to the guy in Brazil, to the guy in wherever else. So we don't have a spot price, and we don't all have the same roundabout extraction costs. It's very, very different. Also, with your lab work, you're continuing to test all the time and to see what the best way for your extraction can be. And so with the lab and the pilot plant, which we'll get on with early next year, that will start to help build our process and continue to refine the efficiency of what we're doing on site. But what you'll see here is it's a heap leach pad, saline solution. We're obviously fortunate to be very close to a lot of salt water. And then the process goes just as simply in that circular motion as I've described. On the left-hand side, you'll see what I was explaining earlier, that this is ionized clay. And as my previous speaker was very specific about things he'd hope you remember from his slide, these are the things I hope you remember from our presentation. We have ionized clays with a massive defined resource in a very straightforward treatment process, right? And that is very, very different to other rare earth projects. So we're incredibly lucky. Luck is a function of, what do they call it? Hard work and coincidence. I can't remember what the expression is. But it's been a lot of hard work to get this lucky. So here's a summary overview. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. We have a brilliant team. Alan Mulligan, who's our Executive Technical Director, has worked on ionized clays projects before. This puts him in a very small group of people outside of China specifically. And when I was involved in this project in 2010, somebody asked me this the other day, well, what's different now? It's 15 years later. There's a huge market difference, obviously, in the demand for rare earths, and the political environment for rare earths is completely different than when it was in 2010. But in reality, we didn't have the right people who knew what we were doing. We knew we had what we had and we couldn't believe it, but we didn't really know how we would unlock that value. How would we be credible to the government? How would we be credible to investors? But now we have those people for that. We've also now added, through our last placing, 2 significant American shareholders who run multi-billion-dollar funds. Now, they're not invested in my £10 million company on the basis of that being their investment. They're invested in the company to put their opportunity there to give us further funding when we need it, obviously for our lab and our pilot plant, but also beyond that to get into production. So we've all the elements in place now. We have a brilliant company. It's organised corporately in the UK on the main board, so it's completely transparent. We're developing, I hope, a good relationship with our partners in Madagascar and continuing to open up the opportunity with them. We have a brilliant sector that we're in that is super strong and with a lot of interest globally. And so we're, if it isn't obvious, very excited about our opportunity. I'm not going to go through these. I'm going to touch on this for 1 second, because I've got 21 seconds left here. This is just an extract from the SGS report about the nature of our mineralization, the scale of our resource, and the proven nature of same. Here are some photos on site. This just illustrates a little bit about what I was saying. I've been down some of these pits. We dug some 4,500 pits, 4,260 to be exact. And out of that, we were able to build this massive resource. So we won't be doing any more exploration. There's no need for us to do any exploration in any medium term. We've loads to be getting on with, and we're excited to do it. This is our team. I've talked a lot about Alan. Tim is in the audience here. He'd be very happy to talk to anybody. Put your hand up, Tim. Stephen Weir was here. He had to leave early today. And our final director, our non-executive director, is Paul Richards, based out of London. And myself, I'll be available if anybody wants to talk. There's nothing I'd like more than talking about rare earths, so please ask me questions. I'm very grateful to have been here. Again, thank you to our delegation from Madagascar. Thank you for listening to me, and God bless.